Welcome to Mastrius, the online global community for motivated creatives providing personal, meaningful, and interactive connections. Pursue your artistic dreams while getting personal feedback from world-class masters and building authentic relationships with artists just like you.
It's a way of connection with creativity being our foundation, but it's as if we're uplifting one another.
Each group follows similar monthly rhythms, but is unique, like each artist in them. Find the perfect one for you.
But I would definitely say just jump in with both feet and just have fun. You just never know. It's just fantastic. I love it.
It's a relationship and getting to know the artist, and yeah, it's mentorship and friendship.
You'll begin each session with your master in warm connection. Your navigator will introduce any new members, and you'll spend a few minutes celebrating the achievements of your fellow members.
There's nothing like it. The support that you get, the inspiration, the motivation, the cheering in the background.
The first half of each session is spent reviewing the homework your master artist assigned at the end of your last session. The second half of each session is teaching curated for you. We get to know you, as your navigator uses the info you provided in your new member profile form, the group discussions, and the questions you ask. They ensure your session is specially designed for you and your group. At the end of each session, your master will give you an assignment to work on until you meet again. But it doesn't end there. Between your session, your navigator will support and guide you as you connect with your group, engaging online, in our regular live events, or in your mid-month sessions.
I enjoy getting together at my mid-month meetings with my group and asking questions and sharing our celebrations and also sharing our failures and being able to laugh about it.
We're excited to have you. With Mastrius, rediscover the joy in being a creative.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie deBoer. Welcome. I'm your host. Welcome to all our members. Thank you for using your free ticket. And if you're not a member, we'd love to have you. Stick around after this event to dig deeper into the world of Mastrius. So, artists, how's this busy season of art shows and markets going for you? Are you part of the local or online show community? Feel free to share what you're up to in the comments. We're super excited about our Emotion of Color online art show featuring our navigators. And it is now open. Make sure to check it out. The art is fantastic. Every show keeps getting better. You'll have until Thursday night to shop. So thanks for supporting our navigators. I'm personally experienced how mentorship can change the trajectory of your art career, and I'm deeply passionate about helping artists harness that same power to grow. Our community thrives on trust and teamwork, offering that boost you need to excel in your journey. And as we get going, don't be shy to pop your questions and comments in the chat. It's there for you to share where you're from, and just feel free to pop stuff in there. I'll be giving away also, let's not forget, I always have this painting apron to give away as well to one of the lucky attendees today. So stick around, we'll do that right at the end. And after the event, I like to stay on and chat a bit more about Mastrius, how you can get involved. There's different ways to join the community, and I'll give away a 1-month recording library membership to one lucky non-member who sticks around afterwards. And if you have any questions, that would be a great time and place to ask them. Again, I'm Julie deBoer. I'm an acrylic artist, and I'm in Western Canada. I'm a mentee and mentor here at Mastrius, and proud to be one of the founders of this game-changing and life-giving community. I'm so pleased to introduce you to one of our mentors, Kristen Palana. She is a designer and educator who has left a mark on 4 continents, sharing her expertise with students from diverse backgrounds. As a multiple award-winning digital artist and filmmaker, university professor, and consultant for organizations like the UN, the WHO, and UNICEF, Kristen's influence extends globally. Beyond her digital expertise, Kristen is celebrated for her intricate and vibrant mixed media artwork. She explores varied mark-making techniques, incorporating symbols, icons, and color to harness the healing power of art in our world. Informed by a rich tapestry of cultures and traditions, Kristen's practices slow art, delving into intuitive creation without constant reliance on screens and technology. Her work is a reflection of her deep passion for mentoring creatives, helping them navigate challenges in art, design, business, and technology. Welcome, Kristen.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I love to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure and honor to have you. And there's so much that I just said in your in the introduction that we're going to dive into. Lots to talk about with you. All right, so welcome, folks. Just a reminder, use the chat, toggle it to everyone if you want everyone to see your comment or question, or you can send them directly to me. All right, so Kristen, let's start with, I hinted at, you've had a few different careers over the years, and you have been in different parts of the world. You've traveled, you've lived abroad, and yeah, let's dive into all the careers that you've tackled, how you have transitioned into fine art, and what some of the challenges and obstacles were that you faced doing that.
Sure. Oh, I see someone, Deborah from Massachusetts. That's actually where I was born. So I started, yeah.
Cool.
So Massachusetts represent, hello. And I saw someone from Maine, Nebraska. So hello, everyone. I'm in Lilongwe, Malawi. That's in Southern Africa, Southeastern, Sub-Saharan Africa, which I used to dream about as a child, just even to visit, let alone live here. But I'm from a small town called Swansea, Massachusetts. It's near Providence, Rhode Island. And I basically started out as a painter studying at Massachusetts College of Art and Design. And I think when I was still an undergraduate, I was a little bit, I'm a practical dreamer. So I was a little bit worried that maybe in the late 90s that once I graduated with a degree in painting, that perhaps life would not, the world would not be my oyster. So I started to think about ways that I could expand what I was doing into other areas that could maybe help me have more options and choices. So around that time, after graduating in the late 90s, I actually lived outside of the US for the first time, just 4 months in Ireland and I think 5 months in Scotland, and then I applied for graduate school, ended up at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York, where I kind of did a switch into computer graphics and interactive media. I was very interested in animation, and I'm really happy the way their program was at the time, because there you kind of did a little bit of everything. So a little graphic design, a little illustration, web design, game design, all of that good stuff. It was 1999, so things have changed a lot since then. But the sort of like versatility, and I think we live in a world now where people ask one person to do about 10 different things. So I feel like being all over the place at that time has kind of helped me with what I'm doing now. So basically, when I was a student there, when I was a graduate student there, I somehow got my foot in the door and started teaching my first university class when I think I was 23, 24 years old. And then shortly after I graduated, I was fortunate enough to start teaching full-time in the art department at William Patterson University in New Jersey. I had been teaching there part-time, so part-time can sometimes turn into full-time. And then without being too long-winded, just to give you the trajectory, I ended up in Rome, Italy, where I jumped yet again to a communications department at the American University of Rome. And I was there for about 10, 11 years. While I was there, my husband came to Rome to join me there, and he got involved with the World Food Program and the United Nations, whom I also was doing projects for. Long story short, we've ended up in some developing countries, Myanmar for 3 years, from 2016 to 2019, and then 2019 until now, we're in Malawi. So I know that was a lot to jam into 2 minutes of bio.
Yeah, that's awesome and so exciting. I know, yeah, I envy that experience a little bit, that you have been to so many places. I imagine that has not just enriched your life, but informed your work quite substantially too. So what was your process of getting into fine art and letting go of some of what you did before? And how's that going for you currently?
That is a great question. I don't know if it is uncouth of me to thank COVID, but I feel like 2021 changed the trajectory of a lot of people's careers and lives. In my case, we were here in Malawi, and in 2019, I started working full-time for the United Nations Population Fund, helping their communications team, because what I found when I came to Malawi is that their art and design and communications were not things taught in the universities, at least in this part of Malawi that I'm in, and in most of the country, to be honest. So I was able to kind of segue into helping some of the international aid organizations. And that was a wonderful, amazing experience. I got to do illustration and animation, and I've always had a love for humanitarian causes and these kind of things. But during the pandemic, all of a sudden we were working from home, and I was just, on my screen for 9 hours a day with not much human contact, aside from helping my sons, who are almost 12 and 14, but a little bit younger during the pandemic, go to school. So it was a bit of a crazy time. But my family actually got sick in 2021 with COVID. Before there was a vaccine, when everyone was still a bit freaked out about it. And Malawi at that time only had 10 ventilators in the entire country, one of them reserved for the president, just in case. Wow. So we kind of felt like, and so I feel like that kind of forced me a little bit to kind of look at the path I was on. And I wasn't dying or anything. It wasn't even a man cold. But something about getting COVID outside of your home country in a country with not as many resources makes you think a little bit. And I just kind of had a little preview of me, age 92 someday, if I'm lucky enough to get old, maybe regretting that I didn't try a little bit harder with the fine art. I kind of was very practical and went into the design and the communication. So I owe it to being sick in Malawi during COVID for getting back on the fine art path again.
Yeah, well, and I think that's, I've heard similar stories that the pandemic really gave people time and space and opportunity to think about life and what goals they haven't achieved yet. And yeah. So there are good things that came out of it for sure. Beautiful. Okay, so what were some of the big hurdles or challenges that you faced transitioning into fine art? And are you doing that full time now, or is that part time?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm somewhat full-time, but I'm still doing design for United Nations organizations, but just sort of here and there. And then I'm also doing teaching and training both internationally online and also locally. So one of the benefits, I guess you could say, of there not really being so much art, design, and communications here in Malawi is it's been a great opportunity for me to kind of to teach those skills that otherwise wouldn't be taught in the university. So one thing that happened when I moved here, I was grateful to be hired to help UNICEF and United Nations Population Fund and GIZ and these other organizations. But I also was asking my Malawian colleagues, don't you think it's, I appreciate that you've hired me, but wouldn't it be great if I could teach locals what I know, because you have an American and Portuguese, American and Portuguese, telling Malawian stories to a Malawian audience, which is fine. And I couldn't do it without the input and advice and counsel of my Malawian colleagues. But, the things that I'm doing can also be taught. So that's sort of how I got into that. But for the fine art, I have a steady practice. I do a minimum of 1 to 2 hours a day. On some days I might do like 4 or 5 hours, depending on what other things I have going on in my schedule, if I'm teaching or if I'm doing design projects for someone. And at first, when I lived in Myanmar and Malawi, I was a little bit nervous about leaving the relative safety of academia, the steadiness of the paycheck, and the schedule, and knowing kind of what to expect. I love adventure, but I guess there's a part of me that loves routine as well, and security. But I'm so grateful for everything that I've been through, because I feel like without being sort of pulled away from my comfort zone, I wouldn't have created sort of a more location independent lifestyle, this ability to do art even in sort of difficult places. Not that Malawi is a difficult place, because it's a beautiful country with wonderful people and a lot of crafts and artisans. It's just that there's not so much the art scene that you would find in North America or Europe or Rome, Italy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and that's a great segue, because I wanted to talk about that too. Being more remote, like you just described, how do you manage that as an artist, to get your work out there, to have opportunities to sell or to connect with other artists or collectors, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for organizations like Mastrius, because it does allow me to kind of connect with a larger community than is here in Malawi. But I also take opportunities when there are art and gallery events in Malawi, just getting to meet the people. Most of the artists that I meet in Malawi are self-taught. So they're really inspiring, because they really had no support or anyone really encouraging them. It's not seen as the most practical of occupations here. And yet at the same time, the fact that in Malawi, organizations are hiring foreigners to do art and design speaks volumes, right? That there's a huge need for it, and would be amazing just to have more local support in those areas. And I know it's something that the country is working on. I don't know, how that will progress over the years, but yeah, I'm sorry. Can you have to repeat the second part of your question? I've gone off track.
About getting your art out there, and you mentioned connecting with other artists, but yeah, how do you succeed when you are in Malawi?
Yeah, so for anyone who might be in a remote location, or even just even if you're in North America, but a small town and not near a major metropolitan area, but who knows, maybe you're in a country that is quite remote. I feel like the internet really makes things a lot easier. There's, especially when I was studying painting in the 90s and working for galleries in Massachusetts in the 90s, everything was so not old-fashioned, but just more traditional. You've mailed out physical postcards to get people to come to your bricks and mortar gallery show, and you had the opening, and you were selling things in person, and that kind of thing. I feel like the internet has sort of opened up so many more opportunities, especially for introverts and people that maybe do not feel as comfortable schmoozing. Everyone who knows me in person knows I'm very friendly and sociable, but I am not a schmoozer. It's definitely not with my talents. But one thing that I have done, so I do things here in Malawi, the things that I can do locally. I do things internationally when there are international calls for shows and art and competitions, things like that. I always like to put my hat in the ring. But I also take advantage of when I travel, which if I'm lucky, once a year, I get a chance to visit family, both in the US and in Germany, because I have my husband is German. So we always go to Berlin and Boston and Berlin. And so I've done artist residencies in Berlin and had shows there. And I just apply for them, knowing that I'm going to be passing through that way anyway. And same thing with Boston. I had a show in June at a wonderful gallery in the city I was born, Fall River, Massachusetts. It's called the Narrows Center for the Arts, but they're really unique because not only are they a bunch of galleries and art spaces, but they also put on concerts, and they have really like big name concerts. So when you have a show with them, you're getting this really dynamic audience of music lovers, artists, art lovers, etc. So it's just kind of all comes together.
Mm. And I know, Kristen, that you are, you're, aside from being creative artistically, you're also creative as far as how you market, how you promote. You've done courses at Mastrius that focus more on, marketing, social media, how to have a great website and get email addresses and kind of connect all those tools to build a business. And I just wanted to highlight that because you've done a really good job of that. Because you're in such a remote location, you seem to make the most of every opportunity that you can, which is encouraging for, like, I'm an introvert and I'm not a schmoozer either. And so the online stuff is really what I prefer, although it is lovely to get out and, be in community for sure. Another thing that kind of comes to my mind as far as your story in particular is living in Malawi, and and price differences and income differences. It must be substantially different than it would be for us in North America. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times people ask me, there's a farmer's market or something. Are you going to participate? And I usually, when there are local art events or art fairs here, I try to come in more as like a supporter of Malawian artists. I know that I'm welcome to join, but I feel like like you said, there's price differences based on what artists charge. So for example, you might see a local artist here. Well, first of all, I should just say, how to put it. So if you're a graphic designer in Malawi, a local graphic designer, it's not unusual to make around $300 a month, which is vastly different, obviously, like in Europe or North America. So there's definitely like the local economy and prices, and then there's the international expenses and prices. And one thing I actually try to do when I'm mentoring and helping my Malawian design and art students is I try to help them build a portfolio that they can share, not only locally to do well locally, but to go online, start to get jobs that are paid in dollars, because it's going to go a lot further when they do that, if they're able to do that, than locally. So the prices of art here, I feel like, from what I've seen, even just the last couple of months, I feel like it's going in the right direction. I feel like local artists are valuing more themselves and what they do and what they make, which is so unique and would go for so much more outside of the country. I noticed they're putting their prices up a bit more, and I think that's the right thing to do. It's not always, it's funny because my art loving friends who like to buy the art are less happy about the prices going up, but no, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Even with not just fine art, but in Malawi you have a lot of artisanally made hand-woven baskets and carved animals. And if you were to take those objects and bring them to Canada or to Massachusetts, they would go for 10 times the price. So it's just a matter of sort of recognizing the uniqueness and the beauty of what people are making and getting those price points just right for the local market, but then also maybe taking advantage of international opportunities when they come up.
Leveling the playing field, right? Kind of the globalization of the art industry. It's really cool that you're able to help artists there to get more and to get into the North American markets and whatnot, and using the internet to do that well. It's fantastic. How many students do you work with in Malawi?
I would say at this point, maybe about, it's always little batches and then throughout the year. So I would say by now it's maybe been about 200 or so. But right now I have a course starting next week, but it's more social media. So it's like more the design than the fine art. Sometimes they do mural painting. Sometimes we do graphic design, video, animation. So, and sometimes I'm mentoring painters and fine artists who are afraid of computers. So if you combine them all together, I would say it's a couple hundred now.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Good for you. It's good that you can have that impact substantially. Cool. Okay, I'm going to segue the conversation a bit. There's a quote I think I want to read that you have said, something close to this that I want you to dive into. That you find also, okay, looking back at your history and all the jobs that you've had, and in particular having been a professor, that your professor identity cannibalized your artist identity. And I hope that I'm getting the quote right. Can you speak to that?
I'm pretty sure I said that in some form. It's so funny because I thought when I have taught full time, and when I have been director of programs, and when I've been in art departments and communication departments, when I have business students who are just taking their first art class, or art majors that want to do that for the rest of their life, I really love it. My heart swells because it is something that I love to do. I love to be the professor I wish I had when I was that age, especially this, like the late teenagers, early 20s. Life is so crazy at that time. It's just nice to have good people pointing you in the right direction. So I have no regrets about any of that. But I guess I didn't notice until maybe the last couple of years, being more of a full-time artist. I don't know, is there like something called a 3/4 time artist? I feel like that's what I am.
I think there is.
I'm a 3/4 time artist. I didn't realize. It's so funny too, because, for example, next week I'll be teaching all week and I will have a lot less time in the studio. On one hand, I love being in the classroom. I just lose the time. It's flow. But then I'm like, oh, I didn't get to, draw as much today. And I really miss that. And then when I'm in the studio, the time goes and I'm not teaching that day. So there are two loves of mine. But I just think you have to be careful, especially for our more practical dreamers who might be listening. If you get too practical, you might sort of snuff out that creative spark. I don't know if people here are more morning people or night owls, but I find I am at my best in the early morning. I even wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and I do a lot of things before I start making art, which I then do before my workday starts, if I'm doing official projects for the UN or an educational institution. We have a vocational training center called the Liberty Center here. So I've been working with them. So though we don't have universities, I am able still to teach adults, and it's been amazing. So I think the key word is balance. And there was a period in my life, but I think also it didn't help that when I was at the height of working full-time in Rome and directing the film and digital media program, I also had a 1 and a 3-year-old. And my husband and I were both foreigners living in Italy with no family to help us. So it was just like, blah, and I see young parents now sort of going through all of that. And I'm just like, whoo. I'm just like, glad I came through the other end of that.
I hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So anyway, I think the key is to be balanced. And I feel like I have that now. And even if I were to go back to teaching, I don't think I would go back full time, but even just teaching part-time at a university, if we move back to Europe or North America, I think I will have a lot more balance, because I think I have a bit more confidence also in my own abilities to make art, to sell art, to know that I can connect with people who love my art. Whereas I think before, I didn't know if I could do those things. So I relied very heavily on my teaching and these sort of like more traditional jobs, because I didn't know if I could pay the bills any other way.
Okay.
So I feel I'm coming to you more empowered than maybe a few years ago.
Good. Well, and I think we all experience some of that with every passing year. You said something that I want to pick on and dive into a little bit more about your creativity getting snuffed out a little bit. I think that's an experience most artists have had at some point or another. And so I think it's a great topic to talk about just for a little while. What was that like for you? How did it impact you creatively and emotionally, and how did you get through it?
That is a great question. I think a lot of people never get started because they're waiting for the right moment, and for the situation to be somehow perfect, like enough time or just the right studio or the right art supplies. Well, when I moved into, this is my office, but I turned it into a studio. But when I moved to Malawi, I wasn't thinking of myself as a fine artist at that time. I was still a digital media artist and an animator and a professor. So this is not really the studio that I envision having 2 years from now. It's what I have now. I have another studio across town, which came later, which is amazing. But yeah, I just started with this desk that I'm talking to you from, with this laptop. Like I just started with like a corner, and then it kind of turned into the whole room. And now I have 2 studios, and I know, because I do believe we are moving in 2024. I don't know yet which country.
Oh, wow.
So it's a weird mindset to be in, but I know that where I move to next, I will prioritize much more strongly having the right kind of studio. Time, I used to worry about having the right amount of time. When I was really, really, really busy running programs and whatnot, I would just have Fridays. Fridays was like my day to kind of, and back then I was just animating, which was wonderful too. But I was just making animation. It's a very slow, laborious process, because I like to do fine art animation. So not like Pixar 3D Toy Story type stuff, even though I like that, but more like almost like old-fashioned Walt Disney frame by frame, but hand painted. So that's the kind of animation that I would make, but it would take like, I think it's 15 to 30 drawings add up to 1 second of animation. So you can imagine how long that takes. But if you do a little bit every day, it's like someone making a quilt or crocheting or whatever. It's the same thing. It's just little baby steps adding up over time. And so for anyone who's got, the day job and they want to find more time, I would just recommend, even if you just set a timer and make it 30 minutes a day. If you only have 10 minutes a day, that's fine. And if you miss a day, that's okay. It's like if somebody messes up their diet and stuffs their face with cupcakes, you don't then the next day give up on your diet, right? You just kind of like go back to it and, pick up where you left off. So I just recommend for everybody, just start with what you have, with whatever time you have. Just try to I don't know, set a timer and really kind of make yourself stick to it until it becomes a routine, and then you don't have to think about it. And then the other thing I was worried about is not having the right art supplies, because it's so funny. There's one art supply store near where I live here in Lilongwe, and they also sell fireworks. Isn't that funny? Right next to the portfolios and the paper, they have like some fireworks, but then they don't necessarily have the archival ink that I want, or the sturdy archival paper that I want. So I try to plan in advance. When I'm traveling, I get a bunch of things in North America or Germany, or if I have to, I'll order stuff and have it delivered, even though it's a little bit more expensive. But a good Malawian artist, from anywhere, will just use whatever they have. So if you got rocks and some acrylic paint, you start painting rocks, That's how I started as well. I didn't have the best art supplies either. I just started with what I had, and then you kind of upgrade from there.
Oh, I love that. And that makes it so practical and manageable and doable, right? It's not about having the studio space. It's not about having a full day of time. It's about squeezing it in here and there. And the more you do it, the more time you'll probably find there is to do it. And the bigger priority it becomes, not just for you, but for your family, the people around you, because they're going to see you light up, right? They're going to see how life-giving it is, and everyone around you wants you to feel that way and to be thriving. Thanks for that encouragement. That's great. You made it so practical too.
Yeah. You're happy when I'm happy too. So if you have any parents, where a lot of mothers especially feel guilty, especially when kids are younger, like, oh, taking time for me. Yeah. But that's one of the best things you can do for your kids, is just showing them that you give yourself 10 minutes or you give yourself an hour to focus on something that you love. There's no better gift you can give to the people you love than modeling self-care. And then hopefully that's something they do as well when they get older.
Yeah, so true, so true. And they benefit from you, pursuing those things that you're passionate about, because that will change how you feel and how you are in the world too. So it's a benefit to everyone. Speaking of mothers and raising children and trying to be an artist at the same time as all of that, you mentioned having two boys, 12 and 14 now, but they have been along with you for, a decade and a half of your art journey. Tell me a bit about how that was for you.
It's funny because when they were little babies, I was working on an animation called This Too Shall Pass, and it was all about just trying to get through those early years. Yeah. And I got the idea for it. I think we hired a babysitter, and I had a half an hour to myself, and I ran to the nearest coffee shop. And I think I wrote in like a notebook, a sketchbook, my ideas, and it was something I can't remember. It was just about how babies and toddlers, they kind of see you as their world. And so even though it's a difficult time, it's going to go by fast. And then soon enough, they're going to be preteens rolling their eyes at you, and you're not so cool anymore, mom, dad. So I was playing around with this idea, and I made an animation which ended up screening in different film festivals when it was eventually completed and submitted. And now I've got this cute little film that I can show my boys, because I like to use real audio. So I have real audio from them when they were I think they were 2 years old and 2 months old when I wrote it. And then when I finished it, I think they were 2 and 4 years old. Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. So and some of my favorite best artists that I know, they use their children and their parenting as inspiration for their work. One of my colleagues that I was with, her name's Robin Schwartz. She's a photographer in the US. She teaches in the art department at William Patterson University, and she's done amazing things with her daughter, Amelia. She has a whole series of animal portraits of her daughter that have become really famous. She's been featured in like Oprah and New York Times, and that wouldn't have never happened if she hadn't, her work would not have taken that direction had she not been a parent. And I really am thankful for the female role models that I had when I was like in my 20s, that were in their 40s and 50s, that were kind of showing me like, okay, this is how you are a professor and an artist and a parent. And sometimes they showed me what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's good when we're all supporting each other.
Absolutely. It's funny. My mom is an artist. She's in her 80s now, but when we were little and we started going to school, she went out and bought some paints and canvases, taught herself how to paint, and built a whole flourishing career. She did very well. And I had no intention of following in her footsteps. I was going to be a nurse. And then I had kids, and then
look at you.
I know. And then when they went to school, I went out and bought some paints and canvases, taught myself how to paint, and built a career too. And it was funny because it wasn't a plan of mine, and it happened anyways. So it's kind of beautiful how art finds you sometimes. And it's often for women, when you have kids, that you have the time and space, not that it's not super busy, but that you might be able to start thinking about, oh, what do I want to do as the kids kind of get a little bit older and start going to school. Yeah, I see that a lot for sure. And actually at Mastrius, we see a lot of women who have had another career. They've retired and now they're pursuing art because they have the time. They're kind of done doing all the other stuff, and they're done parenting, and they can now pursue their passion full tilt, wholeheartedly. It's super inspiring to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny because when I studied painting. I was the youngest one in my class. I was just out of high school. It wasn't anything weird. You know, a lot of people, they go from high school to university. But I think because I chose painting out of all the other different art fields, I was in a class with 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60-year-olds. And many of them either were retired. And there was actually one 99-year-old
Oh,
who
wow.
was, yeah. She was amazing. And I don't know if it's just a Massachusetts. No, it's not just a Massachusetts thing. I think when you're a senior citizen in the US, you can go to university for free.
Wow.
Yeah, so she had a favorite painting professor, and she just really dove in after a lifetime of doing probably everyone else's stuff. She finally gave herself permission to do her own thing. And that was inspiring for a 19-year-old. She was what, like 80 years older than I was.
Amazing. Wow, I
Yeah.
love that. They should bring that to Canada. That's a great, great
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. I think your education system is more affordable than the United States.
Yeah, it's true.
But for now, I hope it stays that way for Canada. And I hope for the US, I hope it goes in the other direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what was I going to ask you? Oh, about your mentorship group. You have one going currently at Mastrius. What kind of stuff do you tackle with your artists? What's your kind of sweet spot or specialty?
Sure. I always try to get a sense for what people's skill sets are and what their goals are. And then I do that with all my classes, not just the mentorship group, but like, so even if it's a social media course or an art course, I want to see where people are at and what direction people want to go in, because I believe in this, you know, custom co-creating an experience, not like a teacher that kind of wags their finger at you and everybody kind of does, you know, that kind of thing. So in our mentorship group, it's what the group most wants to focus on that they've told me are making their website stronger, growing their social media followings, life hacks when it comes to sort of like managing your time and learning how to have a stronger online presence, finding the people that connect with you and your art, and because it's all about really finding your people. You could have the most beautiful art in the world, but if it's in front of the wrong people, it's going to seem like you don't have a voice. So just finding your voice, both, you know, in the real physical world, but then also in the online realm. And I guess for me, being kind of remote and out there, it's become especially important for me to have a strong online presence, because I'm not able to just walk into a gallery and be like, hey, you know, I'm coming to the opening and I'll see you there. It's more like, you know, webinars and things like this. So that's what we're tackling. I'm trying to think. We're also focusing a lot on increasing luck and opportunities. And so it kind of comes a little bit from being an animator and a digital artist. When you're doing animation and when you're in academia, you know, the expression publish or perish. If you're an artist in academia, I don't know, I don't know what that expression would be, but it's exhibit or die or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I felt that when I completed an animation, oh God, I better get this in some film festivals quick, or they're gonna not, you know, keep me around, because there's the whole tenure system. So what I learned from my filmmaker friends coming from a painting background into film and communication is that they often will enter 50 film festivals in the hopes that maybe they'll get in 5.
Oh,
So you know, and I know that a lot of artists do that as well, but maybe not with the same sort of vigor and detachment. And I think the other thing that I learned from being an animator, which I try to bring with me now, is sometimes you'll enter a film festival that's like a big deal, you know, like, oh, New York City, da 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 da. And you kind of enter it and you're like, okay, they're never going to pick my film. And then you might enter a little tiny film festival, you know, the Paducah nothing wrong with Paducah, but some little small town film festival and lemonade stand, let's say, right? You might think you're more of a sure thing in the little one, but they might be the one that rejects your film, and you might get into the big one. And that's happened to me. I've been rejected by ones that I consider like my safety film festival, and I've gotten into ones that were, the aspiring film festival that I didn't think. And it's because you never know who's on the jury. You never know if your work is going to resonate with someone. You don't know if the juror just got food poisoning and is not feeling well when they get to your entry. So I just feel like it's always a good idea to investigate all the different opportunities that are available in the arts. It could be exhibitions, it could be art licensing, it could be I don't know, like having your artwork in films, like in the background or in hotels or on merchandise. I have friends who are successful in all these different ways that are not necessarily the traditional ways. And I think coming back to fine art after so many years as an animator, you kind of come back in with a bit of a beginner's mindset, or at least a mindset where you're filling in the gaps, but then you're also much more open to the possibilities than if you were sort of like entrenched expert, that already thinks they know all the answers. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, I love that. And I love that you said detachment, like that don't take it personally, right?
Definitely don't take it personally.
Yeah, it's just part of what we do and part of our careers or however we're going to be pursuing it, to be open. And I had that experience too, where I had a gallery on my wish list, but it was like 10, 15 years out. And so every time I went there, I didn't introduce myself. I didn't connect with the owners. I was always like, oh, they don't want a bunch of artists coming in and saying hello, because then they have to, turn them down if they're interested in showing blah, 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 blah. And so I didn't. And then one of those galleries that I had on my list reached out to me and said they would like to represent me. And my mind was blown, for one thing. But then they gave me heck, because they're like, have you ever been in our gallery? I'm like, yeah, I've been there hundreds of times. And she said, and you never said hello. And so she gave me a bit of a lecture about that.
You got the finger wet.
Yeah, that we should be putting ourselves out there every chance we get and not taking personally whatever response there is. And like you said, who knows how someone is feeling, or they're distracted or whatever. There's so much going on in everyone's lives. Yes. And you also talk about finding your people, like finding your collectors, and for you to have moved all over the world, and you're talking about moving again. How do you bring your collectors with you, and how do you find new ones where you land?
Great question. I think once we know, we have a sort of like a short list of countries that we may be moving to, but I'm afraid if I say them that they'll, it can dematerialize in a moment's notice, but we'll have a better idea in a few months. But I feel like when we move, because I'm much more of a 3/4 time fine artist now, that I have more of a plan in terms of when I move to the next place, how I will approach galleries, how I will approach the local art scene, how I may or may not work with the universities or UN organizations or whatever locally. So there's always that local component. But when I don't know where I'm moving to, which is right now, I tend to focus more on the online stuff that doesn't matter where you are. It is tricky because I've just had 2 shows in the US, and I know that I'll probably be there in June, July, just for a visit. So I try to plan ahead to apply to things where if I needed to be there in person, I could. But I'm also blessed with great friends and families who have helped me, with shipping and delivering things when I haven't been able to be there in person. So that's definitely not to be overlooked or underrated. But I guess the key word for this is flexibility, and almost like it's out of your hands. Some things are out of your hands, so just don't over stress about it. Just do what you can, and sometimes you'll make mistakes, or sometimes the package won't be, won't be delivered, or something will go wrong. But you'll deal with it, especially as it comes. But I feel like there's just so many, like the Navigator show that you have going on right now is, it's not just, no, it's international, right? Because my wonderful Navigator of the month, Erin Dowd, is in it, and she lives in Berlin, Germany, and I think she's in Japan right now. So she is participating, and a whole bunch of other talented navigators. So just taking advantage even of online shows. And in-person shows when you're able to, if they allow you to send your work. Before I was back to fine art, I was actually participating in physical gallery shows and it was sneaky, by submitting animations that would play on a monitor. So I never had to worry about, like shipping bubble wrap and insuring stuff. Just send a digital file and poof, it was in Seoul, South Korea, in the such and such gallery, and these kind of things. So if you have digital art, that's a sneaky little workaround if you're open to it.
Cool. Just a reminder, everyone, that at the end of the event here in about 10 minutes, I'll give away the Mastrius painting apron. And if you are new to Mastrius, stick around. I'm going to talk about how you can join the community, how you can work with Kristen afterwards, and I'll give away a recording library membership, which is actually really awesome. There's hundreds of videos of demos and these sorts of interviews, panel discussions, critiques, and everything, so you can binge watch to your heart's content. Just a reminder that that's coming up. And Kristen, before we finish up, I want to take another look at your artwork, if that's okay, and ask you some questions about it, because your work is fantastic, and it's vibrant, and it tells a story, and I'm all about that. And there, can you see it?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so like this one, does it open up for you when I click on it?
Yes, that's the first one in the Sacred Geometry series that I'm currently working on.
Awesome. Tell us a bit about
the very first one.
Nice. Well, yeah, tell us about it. There's so much going on in here.
Well, I was just telling a friend yesterday that I'm a minimalist's worst nightmare. So if you're not into like pulsating complementary colors and a million things happening at the same time, I'm probably not the artist for you. But if you're into those things, then I am the artist for you. And actually my group and my Mastrius group and I, we kind of joke, because it seems like the members I have in my group were all mixed media or interdisciplinary artists that love vibrant color, that love lots of mark making and texture. And we kind of joke that we're like the ADHD group. So, and then it's funny because my sons also have ADHD. We're a neurodiverse family. And as I'm working with them, I'm reading about the symptoms, and I started reading about adult women with ADHD, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have that symptom. So who knows? I think we're all.
I think I am a little too,
especially artists. But this is called The Way Gaia Protection Meditation, and it's so funny because I am proud of this work, but I also noticed that my circle is not really perfect, because that was when I started this series, I was a little bit adverse to using rulers or measuring. So I just kind of, no, that's okay. So it's fine, but it's funny because I've just finished the 10th piece in this series, and now some of my shapes, at least like when I'm setting things up, are very precise. And it's mainly also because the sacred geometry shapes that I've gotten into now are getting more complex. And if you try to eyeball it, you mess something up, everything gets messed up. So this was a very forgiving one because there wasn't that much to mess up. It's just, it's called a triquetra, which is a sacred geometry protection symbol. You can also find it in Celtic lore and Celtic art. And so basically I was doing before this a lot of creative visualization artwork that were wishes on an individual level. So I wish for prosperity, I wish for luck, I wish for love, these kind of things. And this was the first one I did more at a community or global level. So I just wanted to play around with, what if, instead of law of attraction and creative visualizing just for my own selfish gain, what if we did it, for our communities? and for our planet. So this has patterns from Europe, Asia, and Africa in it. It has different landscapes from around the globe. It has day and night. It has some sort of mosaic elements, fiber elements, stained glass elements. And yeah, it's basically a big love letter to Mother Earth.
Oh,
so for the people who love that sort of thing, I hope it resonates with you.
Absolutely. There's something I imagine would resonate with everyone. Tell us about size and mediums.
Sure. So it's funny because when I was a painter, and I was even exhibiting back, in my 20s, I only did oil painting, and it was only on canvas. And that was sort of like the acceptable medium that was popular at Massachusetts College of Art and Design at the time. And I never would have thought to use anything different. Acrylic was for, back then it was sort of frowned upon. But the thing is, I live in a very warm, tropical, hot climate, and especially Myanmar was much hotter than Malawi. So I'm actually working on paper. I'm working on vellum, which Bristol vellum, which is so funny because I heard some other artists saying that they have a really hard time with vellum, but I love it. And I'm working with archival ink, watercolor pens, a little bit of acrylic, and on paper, because I can just roll it all up. And if I have to move tomorrow, it can come with me rather easily. So I'm hoping that where we move to next, I would like to work larger. Right now, my work is a bit on the smaller side. It's about 18 inches by 18 inches. So what is that, like 42-ish centimeters, roughly? I've lived outside of the US for all this time, and I still am not so great with converting inches into centimeters. So please forgive my American brain.
Oh, I'm good with inches. We prefer inches in Canada too. Yeah, really, really incredible work. Like there's just so much story. Yeah, it's such a joy to just dive into and enjoy.
They all have a story behind them. And I feel like I actually was told that sometimes when the work can be shown together with the story, or you can hear the story behind it, that they really enhance each other. And so sometimes, like, there was something I was submitting to today that only wanted the title and the work. And I was like, oh, what a shame. I don't get to explain, like what's going on, but okay.
Yeah, well, that's funny. And sometimes we don't know what the story is.
Right.
I've had that experience where I'm creating these things I don't understand. I never understood how big and bold everything was, because when I started painting, I was very quiet and shy, and the work came out of me so bold. I was like, whose artwork is this? But yeah, as you grow and understand yourself and your story and how everything informs what you're doing, then sharing the story is really, really powerful. I love that aspect of it. Well, we have a couple minutes left, and I always like to ask our mentors before we let them go for some encouragement for aspiring and emerging artists who might be here. And this is going to go on YouTube, I believe, so hundreds and thousands will see it. And I'm totally putting you on the spot. What would you say? Yeah.
Okay, it just popped in my head, but I think it's good advice because I try to take it myself, and that is, try to see your biggest weakness as your biggest strength. So if you live in a far-flung part of the world, when you apply to things, go with that angle, like, hey, I'm in Malawi and I've been dealing with this, or even my Malawian art students, a lot of times I try to encourage them, apply to this show that encompasses all of Africa, because not enough Malawians apply. We always hear from South Africa and Nigeria and Kenya, and I love those countries, but the world wants to hear from Malawi and especially the international crowd. I mean, I always joke, I'm like, nobody wants to hear from another American. Okay. I'm happy to apply as an American, but I'm telling, my students, I'm like, please apply to these international things, because we want to hear from you, because some voices are underrepresented. Sure. And so if you see it as a weakness, like, oh, I don't have a lot of money. Like one of my most talented students, he's a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, very talented painter. His name's Alain Bildor. He's done some murals with me at the UN Primary Care Clinic here in Lilongwe. But some people might say, oh, wow, that's like a major disadvantage. But, people are interested in the art he makes because of his background. So long story short, see if you can figure out the thing that you stress about and worry about and are insecure about. Maybe flip the script and see if that's something that makes you unique and authentic. And that might be the thing that people love because it makes you unique.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Fantastic encouragement. The thing that you even struggle with maybe in your art might be the thing that actually you need to pursue and explore a bit more too. I love that.
Lean into your awkwardness.
Yay. Yes, we should have a shirt with that. Thank you, Kristen. This has been a lovely hour. Thank you for so much to dive into, your story and gosh, your experiences all over the world and doing so many different creative things and speaking into so many people's lives and artists' lives. We're grateful to have you at Mastrius as one of our mentors.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Alrighty. And then I will let Kristen go and I will continue on. So bye, Kristen.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Judith. All right, so as promised, I'll give away the Mastrius painting apron. Stick around here. Here it is. It says I'm a Mastrius artist. 3 pockets. It's awesome. Mike is going to pick a name from the audience and he's going to let me know. All right, and if you're here, please say hello in the chat and toggle it to everyone so that everyone can see that you're here. And if I don't get a response, we will draw another name, so don't go. The winner is Deborah Quinnen. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Deborah, if you're still here, say hello in the chat. And if not, we'll draw another name. Deborah Quinnen. Yes, there you are. Congratulations. Okay, Mike is going to get that apron to you. And for the rest of you, stick around. I'm going to give you a quick little tour of Mastrius. I'll show you how you can become a member for free. And then I'm going to give away a 1-month recording library membership, which is a treasure trove of awesome videos our mentors have done with us. All right. So at Mastrius, we are a community, non-competitive, supportive, and goals-focused community. We work with master artists from all over the world, like Kristen, and it's fantastic. Our main thing is mentorship, and everything we do is live and interactive and in relationship. So because we're global, we do it online like this. And so if you've been to an art workshop, the big difference with what we're doing is this. When you go to an art workshop, you often spend hundreds of dollars right up front. Often you have to travel far distances to get there. And then you're in a room with between 20, 30 sometimes artists who mostly are strangers. And you're working with, an incredible artist who you probably admire. And there might be some intimidation there. And then the workshop time is a big download of information. And then you are sent back to your studio afterwards without any follow-up. And it can take a long time to assimilate what you learned, and often you'll forget 50% of it anyways. And not that it's a bad model. I've been to workshops and they're awesome, but what we do differently at Mastrius, which is really impactful, is that we basically take that same teaching, but we break it up month over month so that you're just getting a little bit at a time. And then you have a whole month to practice that and assimilate it into your work and your style. And then when you come back the following month to your mentor, your first thing you get is feedback on that work that you did, and then new teaching, and then the whole month to practice that piece, and then feedback, teaching, practice. And so we have this monthly rhythm that's really impactful, and it sounds like it slows it down, but it actually speeds it up. We, myself included, I'm a mentee, but our members are telling us all the time they're able to quit their day jobs and pursue art fully because they're so supported and learning so quickly. We do mentorship in small groups as well. So when you choose a mentor, you'll be working with up to 8 other artists with that mentor. And the artists are going to be at the same stage as you, which is aspiring, emerging, or accomplished. The reason why we have everyone at the same stage is so that you feel comfortable and so that you're learning from all of the feedback they're getting as well. We know the art industry is competitive. I've been burned by it. You've probably been burned by it. And so we at Mastrius, our community is non-competitive. It's on our homepage. It's a value that we all hold, and it's a value that we bring to our mentorship groups. And part of that idea is that if you're in a group with other artists who are at the same stage as you, you're less likely to do any comparing or feel like, oh, they're so much better than me, or oh, you know, I'm the best one here. Maybe this isn't the right group for me. And then it simplifies the role for the mentor too, because everything they teach and feedback that they give is going to be applicable to you. So it's really awesome. And I'll just show you a few things. Another thing I should mention is every group has a navigator. They're really, really important to our model. A navigator is an artist too, who's there for mentorship just like you, but they're also an assistant to the mentor, and they are also a community builder for your group. So you would meet with your mentorship group once a month, but you're also going to meet with your group without your mentor once a month as well, mid-month, for just a casual get together. You might paint together, you might talk about the homework, you might have questions for each other. The idea is that you are becoming friends and learning how to support each other. And it's a beautiful thing because we actually grow a lot faster when we're collaborating, when we're supporting and lifting each other up. It's a really life-giving experience. Yeah, you're going to find your people here. You're going to find your cheerleaders. It's fantastic. When you're a member, you also get to come to all of our weekly events for free, like this one. We do a weekly event together every week, critiques, demos, panel discussions, interviews, you name it, we do it. So let me show you a few things on the website. I'll show you how to become a member for free, and I'll give away that recording library membership. So this is mastrius.com. And you will see up at the top here, if you want to check out our art show, go check it out. It's awesome. It's our navigators who are our features in the show. So mentorship, we also do live and interactive courses, same thing, but they're bigger, and it's going to be a lot more pure teaching. Our weekly events are here. Mastrius Chat is our online chat platform where we connect in our groups all month long. So for mentorship, this page will be great for you to take a look at because it has all the details about, my internet's super slow today, all the details about the group and how it works and the details of it. And I'm going to just click through. It has the definitions of what stages there are. Here again, you can discover what stage you're at by reading our definitions. And if you are not sure after you read those, you can take this quiz, and there's also an opportunity for us to help you figure that out too. We're happy to help. And then you'll end up on our big, beautiful grid where all of our mentors are represented. And because we're global and growing, there's a lot. So the way you're going to narrow it down is you can search a name. So if you want to check out Kristen's page, just pop her name in here. If you're not sure who to work with, you'll go to this purple filter and you can filter it down to limit the options. So you can work with a master artist versus a professional artist, a little bit of a different price point. You will choose what stage you're at, and I'm already chosen at emerging. You can add your medium or mediums if you have more than one. If you're looking for something really specific, a specific skill, maybe it's plein air, maybe it's composition or color, business skills, we have it all. We have mentors who are generalists who will talk about all sorts of different things, and others who pick specialties. If you have limited time, you can pop out a day here, and then there's subject matter, style, and all of that. And then it should narrow it down. And what I'm going to do actually, because I want to show you Kristen's page, I'll just show you that method. So if you pop Kristen's name in here, she will pop up. We have 2 Kristens. So you just click on the image and it will bring you to the mentors page. And then you can learn all about the mentor. So this is all about Kristen. It links to her website and Instagram. She has a video intro here, images of her work, and Kristen's expertise. So every mentor chooses their own expertise, and they are in 3 categories: technical, marketing and branding, and business. And they choose up to 3 specialties within these expertise. So you can see that Kristen has a lot of expertise in all 3 areas, which means she's going to be quite happy to go whatever direction you need as a member in her group, because mentorship is curated for you. It's not just about our mentors teaching everything they know. It's about them knowing what your goals are, what your struggles are, and then using their expertise to help you overcome them and help you to achieve your goals. So it's curated for you, which is why it's so impactful too. And then the members group information comes next. And you can see that Kristen's next group is on December 7th. It repeats on the first Thursday of every month, and it's 10 to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. This will show up in your time zone. So if you're in a different part of the world, the time might look different. And then you can add it to cart. You'll go through a registration process. We're going to send you a profile form that you're going to fill out about you, your goals, what you're hoping to learn. And Kristen is going to get those before she meets you, which is awesome. And then there's a little bit more about the mentor, another video that Kristen has done, get more followers. That's awesome for social media. Check that out. And then you're added to the community, and you will be then invited to participate in our art shows. And the art shows are only 30% commission. You'll be added to Mastrius Chat, which is our chat platform I'll show you. You'll get a discount on courses. There's lots of perks. Here is the free way to become a member, is to get the events trial, the events membership. And that is to come to all of these weekly events for free. You'll also get access to the recordings. So if you can't make it, you can still make use of it. And you just have to use this coupon code in the cart after you add it to your cart. And then Mastrius Chat, I'll show you, because the recording library membership is hiding in here. So these are all the mentorship groups and courses. When you are added in here, you're only going to see the ones you're involved in. And so you will see, where did the recording library go? Did we move it? I think we moved it. Where I got, oh, there it is. I just can't find it. All right, so you'll see this. You just click on it, and you're going to see all the topics here: art critiques, demos, live panels, artist diaries are these interviews, painting challenges, and more. So just click on it, and it will open the library with those events. So these are all of our demos. We've been doing this for 3 years, so there are a ton. You just pick one, you click on the image, and you can watch the recording. We've got the best artists in the world, so enjoy. And then there's live critiques, panel discussions on all sorts of different topics, from how to deal with imposter syndrome, to finding your style, to plein air, to marketing, Pinterest, lots. And if you don't win it, you can also just buy it. Oh, no, actually can't anymore. If you become a member, then you'll get access to it. Yeah, and then there's courses, art shows, and all of that. So let's draw a name for that recording library membership. And again, if you're here, say hello in the chat and toggle it to everyone so that we can all see that you're still here. And if not, we'll draw another name. The winner is Carla Powell. Carla, if you're still here, say hello in the chat. Or we'll draw another name, so stick around. You're here. Awesome. Congrats, Carla. Mike is going to get that to you. He'll give you some instructions. And if for the rest of you, grab that events membership that gets you into the community, gets you all the perks and access. Check out, come to events, check out the mentors, see if there's someone who might be a good fit for you. And if ever you have a question, we're just an email away. There's also a chat bubble on the website. And if you have a question while you're on the website, pop it in the chat bubble, goes directly to our team. We'll be able to see what page you're on, and we'll be able to answer your questions. If you want help finding a mentor that's a good fit for you, On that grid page, there's also another button that says help me find my mentor, and that will allow us to help you find a good fit. All right, thanks for coming, everyone. Have a lovely Wednesday or Thursday.